everybody. All right, getting a lot of how do I start soloing from you new followers. Thank you for following, obviously. I want to do another video on this. Now, this can stretch a little bit. I'm going to use blues as a base just because it's so timed out. You know, all 12 bars of the blues, you know, the 1, the 4, and the 5. If you guys do not know that, I would definitely spend a little bit of time learning your movements of a 12-bar blues. I can do a lesson on that if you guys need. Actually, comment below if you want me to do a lesson on that, because this is geared a little bit more towards beginners, for you guys just getting into soloing. Now, if you guys are also finding yourself in kind of like what I call like a cul-de-sac, you know, you're just kind of like running around, you don't really know how to get out, almost like a dead end, then this will definitely be for you. It's the same issues I and all of us have, and it's not necessarily about playing. It's a little bit more about listening to what our favorite guitar soloists are doing and understanding why we like it, all right? So, really quickly, in your 12-bar blues, I had an exercise where you played for 2 measures, and then you rested for 2 measures, and then you played for 2 more, and you rested for 2, and then you played for 2 more, and then you rested for 2, thus making your 12-bar blues, okay? Now, the reason I really liked that method is if I put this on, two measures and then rest for 2. Same thing. And I can always change it. All right, now there's a reason that becomes so effective. It's building purpose. It's giving a language. It's giving a language to what we're doing, and it's mimicking a vocalist, a blues vocalist. The reason that we want to do that is when we listen to music, it's basically like a language, a universal language to us. And we need to make sure that stays in our head when we're first starting these solos. So this specific track, actually those licks as well, were part of another exercise I did. And the goal was to have you guys, you know, just like I did, play a lick for 2, rest for 2, and then play the same one. And then rest. One of the major problems that we get into is everyone is afraid to repeat. They think that all this crazy stuff needs to happen over and over and over and over. If I can interject into my own lesson right there, if you guys know Eruption by Van Halen, I actually never learned it. I never had to learn it. I never taught it. But what I do know is in the middle. All right, so I never had to learn it, but I do know. And then like a huge run down into his open chord. And the reason that we all know that is it's a repeating melody that follows the chord structure, actually follows an E major right there. And that sticks out more than anything else really, because everything else is a lot of like fast kind of gymnastics playing, which is super impressive. So that ends up being a little bit of a language right there. That ends up being a little lyrical. We can almost understand it because it's starting to repeat a little bit. That's what I want you to focus on. That's why I want you to start doing that from the beginning, repeating those phrases. Now, if you guys can, repeat a phrase in your 12-bar, repeat your 2-measure phrase, rest, repeat, rest, repeat again, and rest, all right? I always change it up on the 5 just because that tends to be, you know, what blues vocalists end up doing. Now, that starts to get really difficult. You would be surprised at how many people cannot repeat the same phrase again. That just means not that you're unable to do it in your hands, that you're not able, that's not how you're listening. You're not processing a lick as, you know, a form of language that you would repeat back to somebody, or almost like a conversation. Basically, just if somebody were to say something to you, you would be able to say it back to them word for word. But that's not the way that you're thinking of the guitar. So I want you to start doing that. I've had some students, some shredder students, that we came in and they were not able to do this, to the point that we had to put the guitar down and clap out rhythms. And they had to clap the same rhythm, just like we're doing in the 12-bar blues, just clapping the rhythm for 2 measures, and then resting, and then clapping and resting, and then adding just 1 note. And then resting, all right, and building from there, because that part of their solo structure was gone. And that's really, not, I don't want to say the most important, but that is the first part of it. You have to have a rhythmic reason for playing the next phase, which is the notes and the note choice that you're playing, the pitch. And then from there, all of the other awesome dimensions that we get to add on top. But if that's not there, there's no amount of slides, bends, tapping, sweeping. None of that shit is going to help because the core of it isn't there. There's no language in there. You know, it's kind of like as I'm speaking, my inflection's going up and down. I might throw in a crazy word. I know I said shit, in there to kind of spice it up a little bit. None of that would matter if the words I was saying didn't make any sense. So we need to make the words make sense. So in that exercise, right, you rest for 2 measures and you play the same thing. What that mimics is, and I know that we had mentioned this in the last video, is I have the blues because my dog ran away. And I actually had students write that line down. I had the blues because my dog ran away. And then when they played it, they had to read. Now, they didn't have to sing it. They just had to read that line when they played. Right? Just because the language of that being written down made them repeat it again, visually reading the words and playing it on the guitar. Now, there is a reason that I'm bringing all of this up and kind of getting a little bit long-winded when I didn't really want to, is from there, we could start adding more. And when people start asking for faster licks, when you start getting into singers like a Christina Aguilera or a Tina Turner or a Whitney Houston, you guys could hear, those like really crazy vocal riffs that they do. I know Christina Aguilera is like almost like number 1 for all of that. Well, if I were to put this on, all right, I'm gonna play a 12 bar. Let me just pull it back a little bit so it could get that turnaround. So I'm gonna do a regular. Very easy, very vocal. All right, now the last one. That touches on the same thing. I'll start adding a little bit. Now that starts kind of adding like those little vocal riffs where the line is still there. I have the blues because my dog ran away, and then a little, that's not part of the lyric, but the lyric's still there, and that's just embellishing it a little bit more. That's where the add-ons come in. And this even goes as far as if I were to play, so I just want you guys to start there. Phrase, repeating, or phrase, rest, phrase, rest, phrase, rest. Phrase and start changing it around a little bit. Start moving instead of, right? If you're gonna come back around to that same idea. All right, even just that little, I'm just sliding down from that last note, down 2 frets. And repeat, and just ending right there. Those little changes, not change. Once you can repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, and bang that into your head, you could start making these little changes. Then from there, I'm gonna jump really far ahead now. From there, you get this. transcribe that into lyrics that would have a full lyrical motif. I'm just able to change the language because I've become I don't want to say because I've become such a master of the language, but I'm kind of relating it to language, that being like my first language, English. I know it so well that I can add that much to it without taking away from the original structure of it, the original phrases. So guys, I want you to take this in and then see if this is starting to make sense with you, just using, so now that we're at the end of it, just using two notes. So I'm here in A. Now usually the two notes that I use are the 5th fret of the E string and the 8th fret of the B string. So it usually ends up being 10 and 8 on the 2nd string. That's all you really need. And the very first thing that you're going to do is just hammering in repeating phrases. That's it, like, until that becomes so normal. And then you start changing it a little bit. Right? Just changing the notes. Right? Then start moving where the notes are falling and how the rhythm of the notes are happening. So those little changes is what's going to make the building blocks so fundamentally strong that there's not going to be anything you can't accomplish with your solos. Now, just to end this lesson, I know this went on for a little long. Just to end this lesson, this is what happens when a lot of us, what we do is we kind of miss this beginning phase and we want to start here. Like I said, it's because we're listening. We don't really know what we're listening for, and we're jumping way ahead of ourselves. This is kind of what we end up getting. I'm gonna move this back here, guys. Once you start getting into like pentatonic patterns and things like that, you end up getting this. Right? That is so common. It's this shotgun, same thing, no repetition, no motif, no language. That has absolutely no language to it. And then to press against that and try to push forward, you guys end up wanting more tricks. Oh, I want to tap, I want to sweep, I want to learn like really fast picking, and that ends up taking away even more from the original structure. So starting with two notes and changing the rhythm and changing the pitch, once you can nail each lick, and then moving from there is going to be way more beneficial. I hope this lesson worked for you guys. Let me know if there's anything, because some of you guys might know a few of these things, might miss a few of these things, might not know the pentatonic, but know the 12 bar. Let me know if there's something you need described below, because I went into depth in this one, and I will see you guys soon.